If you're not a Muslim, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word Islam? Terrorism, oppression, violence, a religion of fear, a system that hates freedom. You're not alone, because for decades, the media, politicians, and certain movements have painted a very specific image of Islam, a dark, distorted image that has nothing to do with what Islam truly is. But now, let's flip the question. If you're a Muslim, what's the first thing you feel when you hear the word Islam? Peace, mercy, hope, purpose, and above all, submission to the one and only creator of the universe. Two people, same word, Islam. Two totally different reactions. So who's right? Well, in this series, we're not here to argue. We're not here to attack or preach. We're simply going to show you what Islam actually teaches and what the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad truly said, because sometimes it only takes a few minutes to turn misunderstanding into clarity and fear into respect. So whether you're a non-Muslim with questions or a Muslim who's tired of hearing the same false accusations, stay with us, because by the end of this series, you'll see Islam not through headlines, but through truth. 1. Islam promotes terrorism and violence. When people hear the word jihad, they imagine bombs, war, and chaos. They picture masked men, screaming slogans, and associate it all with Islam. But where did this image come from? Who created it? Before we talk about Islam, let's ask something important. Who started the First World War? Who dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Who created chemical weapons? Who colonized half the world and enslaved millions? Was it Muslims? No. History's bloodiest wars were never started by Muslims, and yet Islam is the one blamed. Now let's talk about jihad, the most misunderstood word in Islam. What does jihad really mean? Jihad in Arabic simply means struggle, and the greatest jihad, according to the Prophet Muhammad, is the struggle within yourself. To resist evil, to be honest, to be kind, to control your anger, to fight your ego. That is jihad. But yes, there is also a physical jihad, only in self-defense, never for aggression or conquest, and even that has strict rules. You cannot harm women, children, or the elderly. You cannot destroy trees, homes, or places of worship. You must never fight for revenge or hate, only for protection. The Quran is very clear. Whoever kills a soul, it is as if he had slain all mankind. Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:32. That doesn't sound like terrorism. There is no compulsion in religion. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:256. That doesn't sound like violence. Fight in the way of Allah those who fight you, but do not transgress. Indeed, Allah does not like transgressors. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:190. Islam allows self-defense, not terrorism. In fact, Muslims are often the first victims of terrorism. Extremist groups kill more Muslims than non-Muslims, and most Muslims around the world live peacefully, raise families, do business, and pray for peace, just like everyone else. So where did the image of violent Muslims come from? From media manipulation, from cherry-picked verses taken out of context, from decades of war, politics, and propaganda. But Islam stands for peace. The word Islam itself comes from salam, peace, and the Prophet Muhammad was called Rahmatulil Alameen, a mercy to all the worlds. The true Muslim is the one from whose tongue and hands people are safe. Hadith, Sahih Bukhari. 2. Islam oppresses women. This is one of the most popular accusations against Islam. Turn on the news, scroll through social media, and you'll hear Muslim women are oppressed. They're forced to cover. They have no rights. But before we judge, let's ask one powerful question. Who gave women rights first, the West or Islam? Let's go back in time. Before Islam, in pre-Islamic Arabia, women were treated as property. Baby girls were buried alive. They had no right to own land, inherit money, or even say no to forced marriage. And it wasn't just Arabia. In Europe, women were burned alive as witches. In ancient Greece, they were considered inferior beings. In Rome, they were the property of men. Even just 100 years ago, Western women couldn't vote, couldn't study in universities, couldn't own property without a man. So, now ask yourself, who really oppressed women? Then came Islam, and everything changed. In the 7th century, Islam revolutionized women's rights. Whoever has a daughter and doesn't bury her alive, doesn't insult her, and doesn't prefer his sons over her, Allah will enter him into paradise. Hadith, Abu Dawud. Unheard of at that time. Islam gave women the right to inherit property, the right to own businesses, the right to divorce, the right to choose who to marry, the right to education, the right to worship equally to men. The Prophet Muhammad said, seeking knowledge is a duty upon every Muslim, male and female. Ibn Majah. His wife, Aisha, became one of the greatest scholars in Islamic history. Thousands of men and women learned hadith from her. And when people say, why do Muslim women wear hijab? That's oppression. Tell them, hijab is not a cage. It's a choice. It's dignity. It's modesty. It's freedom from being sexualized. Western culture tells women, show more to be valued. Islam says, you are already valuable. You don't need to show anything. 3. Muslims are not allowed to smile or have fun. A common image paints Muslims as serious, strict, and joyless. But that's completely false. The Prophet Muhammad was known to smile often. In fact, one of his most famous sayings is, even a smile is charity. He joked with his companions, played with children, and enjoyed light moments, all within the boundaries of respect and modesty. Islam teaches balance, not complete restriction. Laughter, joy, family time, sports, celebrations, all are part of the Sunnah, the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. What Islam forbids is not happiness, but sinful entertainment, things that harm the soul or society. So yes, Muslims can smile, laugh, celebrate, and enjoy life, just like everyone else. They just strive to keep it halal, clean, and meaningful. 4. Islam teaches forced conversion. One of the biggest lies spread about Islam is that it was forced onto people with the sword, but the truth is exactly the opposite. The Quran clearly says in Surah Al-Baqarah 2266, there is no compulsion in religion. Islam strictly forbids forcing anyone to accept the faith. Even during the time of the Prophet, many lived under Muslim rule, including Christians and Jews, and they practiced their religion freely. If Islam was spread by force, then why is Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim country, never conquered by any Muslim army? History proves Islam often spread through trade, kindness, and character, not war. So no, Islam doesn't teach forced conversion. It invites people to truth, but belief must come from the heart, not by pressure. 5. Muslims don't believe in Jesus or the Bible. Many people are stunned to learn this, but Muslims deeply believe in Jesus, Isa alayhi salam. He's one of the most honored prophets in Islam. The Quran describes his miraculous birth, calls him the Messiah, and even says he spoke from the cradle as a baby. Muslims believe Jesus healed the blind, cured the leper, and raised the dead by God's permission. But unlike Christian belief, Islam does not see Jesus as the Son of God, but as a mighty prophet sent to guide the children of Israel. Muslims also believe in the original Gospel, Injil, the divine book revealed to Jesus, but they believe it was later changed by human hands. And Maryam, Mary, she's called the purest woman in the Quran, even more revered in Islam than in many Christian traditions. I've already made a dedicated video where we explored the Islamic perspective on Christianity, including who Jesus, Isa, is, what the Quran says about him, and how Muslims view the Bible and Mary. If you're curious to know the full picture, that video is linked in the description. Trust me, it will change how you look at both faiths. 6. Muslims worship a different God. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Islam is the idea that Muslims worship a completely different God, like some foreign, made-up deity. But here's the truth. The word Allah isn't the name of a separate god. It's simply the Arabic word for the one God. Arab Christians and Jews also use the word Allah when speaking about God. Muslims believe in the same creator that was worshipped by Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, peace be upon them all. He is the one who sent all prophets, not just Muhammad, peace be upon him. Islam doesn't introduce a new religion or a new god. It reaffirms the original message of pure monotheism, that there is only one God, and he has no partners. So next time you hear Allah, just remember, it's the same God, only a different language, nothing more. 7. Islam was spread by the sword. It's a line we've all heard before. Islam was forced on people by the sword. But if that were true, then how did Indonesia, the largest Muslim country today, become Muslim without a single battle? The reality is, Islam spread through trade, character, and invitation, not through violence. From the peaceful merchants of Africa to the scholars in Central Asia, Islam reached people through its message, not military. Yes, there were wars, like every empire and every faith's history, but the Quran itself says, "Let there be no compulsion in religion." Quran 2:256. And under early Muslim rule, Christians and Jews lived freely, even practicing their religions publicly. Islam didn't rise by the sword, it rose by the truth. It wasn't fear that brought people in, it was faith.